guys, John here. We're going to talk about compression and dizziness. This came up a few times this last week. And one, Evan Judson asked a question on dizziness and how to deal with dizziness in the upper register. And also my buddy John Thaxton, who's a very up-and-coming lead trumpet player, plays for the Columbia Basin College Jazz Band. And he posted a video recently, last week, of him passing out on stage. So kudos to him for being able to post it and let us learn from it. So I was there at the concert. He did a great job, nailed a high A at the end, and the director just kept holding it out. And that high A just kind of started tapering off. And as soon as he was done, he fell backwards off the stage. And fortunately, he wasn't really hurt, and the horn was okay. But it was a great place to talk about some things regarding dizziness and compression. So I'm going to make this as quick as I possibly can as far as this video is concerned. I used to deal with dizziness and headaches a lot early on in my career. I had a head injury and a neck injury in about 1991, pretty severe. I won't get into the details of that. But I had to learn over the years how to deal with my compression. So as a lead player, I would take big gulps of air, expand my chest out, and I had to try and force the air. Well, I would get dizzy, and I never actually passed out on stage, but I come very, very close. After studying with a lot of people and learning that compression isn't about taking in as much air as you possibly can, compression and controlling the air is going to alleviate some of those headaches. So I had a couple doctors I even talked to, and they said one of the reasons why we get dizzy is because when we hold our breath and put pressure on our lungs, the oxygen in our lungs starts to turn to nitrogen. Okay, it's kind of the same lines as with when divers get the bends. Okay, there's a lot of pressure, and some of the oxygen molecules start to turn to nitrogen, which is toxic for the body. Okay, so if you get nitrogen flowing through your blood into your head, it's going to cause you to be dizzy and eventually pass out. So as trumpet players, especially lead trumpet players, we start going in the upper register, we want to tank up, right? We want to go and have as much compression as we can, but we can actually generate far more compression than we actually need for the upper register. And if you have too much compression in the chest, you're compressing that air and you're turning that oxygen into nitrogen really, really quickly. And that's what causes a lot of the dizziness and passing out. So Roger Ingram actually talks about this too. Only take in as much air as you need for that passage. So when I go in the upper register, I don't take as much air as people think. And I rarely take any air from my chest. I take all my air from my stomach area or lower abdomen, okay? But I try to keep the chest as neutral as possible and the throat as neutral as possible. I drop the tongue, like I've said in all my videos. I allow that air to come out. If the air backs up too much, then I gain too much compression, because there is a such thing as too much compression and too little compression. There's a balance right in the middle, okay? So if I take a big breath, okay, I can play it, and most people wouldn't know the difference in the sound, but I can feel my head already starting to go down that path of dizziness. I can feel way too much compression, so I won't take as much air. Sounds the same to you on the other end of the video, but for me, I don't feel all that compression in my head. I don't feel the backup and the buildup. So when I'm playing lead lines, watch me. I don't take very much air. I mean, I take a significant amount, but I don't take too much. I found the balance. Okay. See, and I feel totally fine when I'm done. The other thing is, if you're a lead trumpet player and you're playing a high lead line or a last note of a song, and the director decides to hold it out really long because he's a woodwind player and he doesn't get the brass thing right with lots of air, don't go to the point of exhaustion. If you have to stop and restart, that's okay. Even a lot of pros do that. But if you do hold it out, I would suggest, and if you ever watch when I play, or at least when I'm thinking about it, when I get done playing a high note, I try to intake air very quickly. So when I get done, I'll take a real fast breath of air. And what it does is it quickly saturates your blood with oxygen. And it gets to your brain very quickly. And it might avoid you passing out. What a lot of guys do after a high note is they'll play the note, ready? And they'll hold it out and they'll pull it off. and they won't take a breath. They'll sit there, and that's when the brain starts to shut down for lack of oxygen. So the key is as quickly as you can, get air in your lungs as soon as you're done. So if you're going to play some last note, right? Take a real quick breath of air, and it's going to help with it. So bottom line is you don't want the oxygen turned into nitrogen. It's going to at certain levels because you will always have compression, but it's limiting it. Don't do it very quickly. You can have too little air and high compression will cause dizziness. Too much air and high compression will cause dizziness. You want to find that happy medium, okay? So I don't take a huge breath when I play. I just, right about there, okay? And I do it from my stomach, and then I compress really strong with my stomach, as hard as I can compress, okay? But I try and keep my chest very loose, my throat loose, the corners tight, but this very loose. So as loose as possible. I don't try to push all the air out at the same time. Remember the hole inside the mouthpiece is relatively small, and so only so much air can go through there at one time. So don't try to cram all your air through, or you're going to get a hissing sound or an airy sound, and you will start to get dizzy. So find a balance. Music is all about balance. Even as lead trumpet players, we always make jokes about parting hairs out in the crowd and being really loud, but it's really about balance. I mean, we want to be able to be heard. The band needs to hear us, but we don't want to overpower the band. Otherwise, it's the lead trumpet show and not the band. So, anyways, balance, compression, air loss, nitrogen. I think I got everything on there. And then the key to I'm gonna end it here is when we build that compression, we have to decompress at some point. So the decompression is pushing that air through the horn, right? But if we have too much backed up and only a little bit going out, we have way too much compression, and we're not able to decompress quick enough, and that's when we start to have problems. So the key is balance. Don't take in too much air. Take in as much air as you need for that line, and then learn to take more air if you need it as you go through those lines. You don't have to finish one huge shout chorus in one breath. Find places in there that you can take little breaths at a time, and it'll help decompress the body. So I'll end it with this. Was done with about half the air than I normally would have done 20 years ago. And it's just as loud, just as powerful, just as cutting, but I don't have to build all that massive compression where the air can't go anywhere. So if you guys have any questions, get a hold of me. I hope that helped a little bit. And again, kudos to you, John Thaxton, for posting that video and being humble about it, because we all learn from it. We've all been there. And nice job holding out that day and hanging in there. So you guys have a great day. Take care.